Here.
Mr. Boda?
Here.
Mr. Blackstock?
Here.
Ms. Bebel?
Here.
And Freehand is here. You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pasalis and Mr. Horn are excused. Would you follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, a motion to accept the agenda as presented would be in order.
I'll make a motion, we accept the agenda as presented.
I'll support.
You have a motion?
We have a motion and we have a second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the approval of the minutes of February 4th, 2019. They're in your packet.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes of February 4th, 2019.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and we have support to accept the minutes of the February 4th, 2019 meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to talk about anything that's not on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have the C1 is Marine City Fire Authority. City and Township runs for January 2019. We have the C2 is the January 2019 cash summary by fund report, and the C3 is the January 2019 cash summary and bank fund report. So if there's no questions on any of that, a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So move.
Mr. Boda?
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to disbursements, we have invoices for $38,230.81. We have accounts payable of $73,609.30. We have a payroll direct deposit of $27,975.90. We have a tax account of $1,610,830.84. And we have an EFT payments of $9,924.81 for a total disbursement of $1,760,571.66.
I'll make a motion that we pay the disbursements in the amount of $1,760,571.66.
Support.
We have a motion and we have a support to pay the bills. Is there any further discussion?
Have a roll call.
Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Boda?
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
Ms. Bebel?
Yes.
Motion carries, we pay the bills. Moving on to new business, we have none this evening, so we'll move on to unfinished business, the Hydro Core Cross Connection Inspection Agreement. It's in the back of your packet. Mr. Loper, would you like to discuss a little bit about this and what the committee is recommending to us?
Ladies and gentlemen, the board, a brief overview of the cross-connection compliance program as presented today is for our residential cross-connection compliance. So we have for years monitored and regulated the commercial accounts and all of their cross connections. We had a survey from the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality in June of this year, or of 2018, and they recommended as part of the requirements of the Safe Drinking Water Act that we begin a residential cross-connection compliance program. HydroCorp is here today. Their Vice President, Paul Patterson, is here to answer questions about what that residential cross-connection compliance program will look like, and then he's here to answer your questions.
We're mandated to have this?
We are.
Okay.
At some point, we're going to start with all of our residential sprinkler lines, and then expand it over in the future to all residential home. And Paul can probably
Okay.
speak better as to the scope of what they'll do and how they'll do it.
All residential, even if you don't have sprinkler systems?
I believe so. They'll be looking for things around your home.
Hi, Paul.
Good evening. Yeah, as Dwayne was saying, it is mandated by the state that essentially every water connection to the public water system has to be looked at least one time. So as part of the residential program, the first steps that we have talked with Dwayne about is, as he said, attacking or looking at the known lawn irrigation systems, because that's probably your highest risk factor from a residential standpoint. The program we are recommending to begin with is very unobtrusive. It's exterior of the home only. We'll be looking for those irrigation systems to make sure that they have the proper backflow prevention, so that animal waste or pesticides or fertilizers can't be mixed in with the drinking water supply. In addition to that, we'll be identifying just hose spigots outside. That's probably the number one cross connection we find. They have to have a vacuum breaker. That's plumbing code, and it's a DEQ requirement. As part of the proposal that we presented, we're actually going to supply those to the homeowners. I would say somewhere around 90% of the time when we do just an exterior inspection of the home, that's all the homeowner needs to be in compliance. So if we can just provide them while we're there, a lot of your homeowners will probably be in immediate compliance when we leave. The only additional requirement would be that on those lawn irrigation systems, the backflow preventers that are installed are testable devices, and those are required to be tested in anywhere between 1 and 5 years. So that would become part of the program as well, and we would manage, just like we do on the commercial side, we would manage the testing side of that. The homeowners would be required to get a local contractor that's certified to test those. But we would track and make sure that all that was completed, and we handle all the state reporting that needs to happen, pretty much a turnkey program. So with that, if there's any questions I didn't hit on, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
So to make this clear, we're going to start out with all of our sprinkler customers that have a
Yes.
sprinkler meter,
Yes.
and a backflow preventer is what the main piece you're going to check?
Yes, we need to ensure that it's there, that it's the correct type, and that it is installed properly.
And if it's not, then it's up to the homeowner to get a contractor to change that?
Yes, yes,
Okay, at their expense.
yes, sir.
Now, would your company be the one that's, when it gets down to just, gets down to the residential people, other than the sprinklers, your company gonna do it, do the inspections, or if so, for a certain fee, or?
That is the plan. As of right now, we're only presenting a 1-year contract, which is essentially going to be for those known sprinkler accounts. Moving into the future, beyond that, I'm sure there'll be further discussion on how Dwayne and the board and everybody wants to proceed with the program.
I see, okay, thank you.
And right now, Don, this expense is being folded into our asset management.
Yep, and new water rate structure.
When the new water rates come out, that'll be paid for out of the new water rates.
I have a question. I may have missed it. You said that the backflow preventers, if they're the proper ones, should be tested between every 1 and 5 years?
Yes.
You don't test those, though?
No.
correct? They have to get another licensed individual?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We can test, however, we feel it's a conflict of interest because we're the ones managing the program. It would be inappropriate for us to solicit testing to your residents.
So then they turn over documentation to you? Is that
Yes.
how that works?
Yeah, so essentially their contractor would send all the test reports and all the documentation to us. We keep track of all your records. And then again, at the end of the year, we have to report out on that to the state DEQ.
So you're just gonna come to these residents' home and physically look at the vacuum breaker and make sure it's the right kind? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. We're gonna make sure it's there, for one. Make sure it's the correct type, make sure that it's installed in accordance with plumbing code requirements. And again, there's a few other items of concern outside hose bibs, which will provide those vacuum breakers. Maybe someone has a pool, if they've got a private well, we'll annotate that because probably somewhere down the road, we'll have to have a discussion about the private wells. Because really, we want to make sure that there's no connection between the private well and the public water supply. That would require actually probably entering the home.
What did you talk about, hose bibs? We're not doing those now, we're just doing sprinkler system. Are you gonna be looking at hose bibs?
Well, since we're at the home, yes, we will look at everything that we find on the exterior of the
What
property.
can you tell looking at a hose bib?
There's a vacuum breaker. It's
on
a
the
it's a
top?
type of backflow preventer. The newer homes will most likely have them built in, which is great. Older homes, before plumbing code changed years ago, they don't have a vacuum breaker. And as I said, that's the part we'll provide. They screw right onto the end of the hose spigot.
Oh, okay. So they won't have to change a hose bib?
They don't have to change the spigot. We'll hand them a little, it's about yay big, and it screws right on the end of the hose spigot.
Little check valve, huh?
Yeah, and we'll leave it with the homeowners and instructions on how to install them.
But you don't have to get in the houses or unless they volunteer to let
Not
you?
not at this time. At some point in the future, I can't guarantee DEQ's stance on that. Right now, they've been okay with us taking the stance of just doing the exterior because it is intrusive to.
Now, have you
going
been
to-
getting a lot of other communities to sign up with your company to do this, or?
Yes, overall in the state for the commercial side, we work with about 120 communities. Now, the residential side, DEQ,
You do our commercial too, right?
Yeah, they reworded the language in Public Act 399, and about 2-3 years ago, they really emphasized, essentially they were telling communities, okay, you've had since 1976 to get your commercial program in order, so now it's time to do the residential. Since that time, it's been a mix. We've helped a lot of communities that are trying to do it themselves with training and providing some information. And then there's other communities, probably a dozen or so right now, that within the last 2 years, we started handling the whole thing for them. A lot of times what happens is they realize they're getting inundated with paperwork. We've got all the systems and the databases in place, so it makes it a little more efficient.
Hey, how about new applications for sprinkler systems? Say right after you get done, somebody comes in and wants a sprinkler meter put in a new house. How do we get them in the mix?
We would record that sprinkler system, and in the next inspection cycle, they would be put on the list. Your plumbing inspector should also.
That's what I mean, that's what I'm saying, can we
Yes.
capture that through our plumbing inspector?
Yeah, on new stuff, the plumbing inspector should be involved in looking at that. technically anything up to that backflow preventer belongs to plumbing code. So the plumbing inspector's responsible all the way to the outlet valve on the backflow preventer. Then once it's irrigation system, that's a different set of rules. So the plumbing inspector should be capturing a lot of this
So
stuff.
I mean, if he captures it, then could we put it on our data that it was corrected at that time?
Sure,
I
because
mean, so we wouldn't have to add another one. to
Sure,
it.
and most plumbing departments, after installation of the backflow preventer, they're gonna require it to be tested. That's all we would need, is that test report and the plumbing inspector signing off on the permit saying it was installed properly. And then that would be one we would just take off our list.
And this is nothing we can do internally, have to be licensed to do this, to know.
Well, they do provide training that some of our employees have expressed interest in taking. It's a week-long course. They become certified testers. So I think it's a great way to kind of integrate the responsibility at some point where we can work together.
Well, we realize we have nobody now qualified, but,
Sure.
you know, if we could, you know, send somebody to school, if there's somebody who wants, interested in it, I would think this board would be interested in doing that.
And I think
Right.
that's one reason we proposed a one-year contract, get it up off the ground and get everything moving in the right way, in the right direction. Because part of this too is we're going to have, you have it's a plan. It's required by the state. We had to write a cross-connection control plan and submit it to MDEQ for you, and we did that several years ago. There's no language in that plan that spells out the residential portion of the program because we weren't doing that. So we're going to have to rewrite that plan. All that's included.
And then
With
we
this-
should be good with most of these up to 5 years, you thinking? Or is this-
Yes, yeah.
When will we have to do it again?
The inspection, okay, there's two parts of the program. There's the inspection, the visual verification that we do. Those are probably, the way it looks like DEQ's leaning, because there's no set in stone rule, it's more of a guideline, is once every 10 years. As far as the homeowner needing to test that backflow preventer, the maximum amount of time they can go is once every 5 years. That's all gonna go into that plan, so there'll be further discussion once we start writing that as to how we wanna craft that language. And that also hinges on DEQ approval. Because again, once we write that plan and say this is what the township wants to do, we have to send it to your district engineer. They have to review it, and they can approve it, they can send it back with comments, say, I don't like this, can you change this? There could be some back and forth.
So, going on what Herb said, you're gonna go and visually look at the backflow preventer, but you're not gonna test it.
No, sir.
So, you visually look at it, how do you know it's working? You don't, right?
No, we can't tell if it's working. We're looking for more code compliance, to make sure it's installed properly.
And that's what the state's looking for,
Yes,
proper installation?
yes.
Okay.
A lot of times homeowners do things themselves. Maybe they installed the wrong backflow preventer. The things we're looking for, you can buy at Home Depot and Lowe's. But they may not have installed it properly. There's height requirements, there's specific things we have to look at to ensure that it complies with all the plumbing code and DEQ requirements. Now, if a plumbing contractor installed it and the plumbing inspector inspected it, chances are there's no problems. That's why I said once 90% we hand out those hose bib vacuum breakers, we'll probably be in compliance when we leave, other than that testing component.
I mean, if you've been doing this for a while, do you have some kind of percentage that you find that aren't in compliance with the vacuum break? Like you suggested, there's some that
As
don't
I
even
said-
have vacuum breakers.
Yeah, every community is a little bit different. I would say it's no more than 10 to 15%.
Which is could be a lot of people.
You said you were going to start with, or we would start with those that had sprinkler systems, that have a sprinkler meter. eventually you do everybody, but you can start with those. Do you know about how many of those we have?
I believe there's close to 260
Sprinkler ones.
sprinkler meters. Plus, they're already working our commercial plan. Part of the process too is creating the inspection schedule. So being able to know which ones we'll do at different intervals. So if we do have a certified tester on staff or two, we can do that throughout the year and make sure that we're keeping up on the schedule of the testing. And if we have one that fails, we can work with our own customer and finding a certified, repair person, which is usually a plumber.
Yeah. Yeah, because some of the residents are going to say, well, who do I get to fix it,
Yeah.
Dwayne, up to this point, anybody putting sprinkler systems in, they build a new, mostly new houses and they put them in, will they be required to be inspected again after being inspected by a township once?
Looking at the law, I would say if it's been approved by a plumbing inspector in the first 5 years, no. But if they're outside of that 5-year window, it probably should be inspected.
Even though they'll complain and say, it's been inspected once, I've already paid for it, I gotta do it again.
Well, it's just like the meters, right?
Yeah.
We put our meter in when the house was new. Well, nothing stays new forever, so there's a time things need to be checked.
Rick, do we have a plan in place to tell them that they need these tested? What is our plan? Do they get a letter?
We will incorporate that into our newsletter this summer.
Okay.
That was-
So we're not gonna contact each one directly?
Well, every taxpayer gets a newsletter, so whether
Okay.
they.
Whether they read it or not, those.
Exactly.
So to expand on that a bit, in our proposal, we would send a letter to the homeowner. That's all part of the program, but that's up to you all to decide if you want us to do that.
Okay.
But our letter, we currently do that with all your commercial folks. They test every year. They do their backflow testing every year. So every year we send them a letter. The letter's got information about the township ordinance and the state rules, a list of certified testers in the area so they know here's a list of folks you can call.
Okay.
And obviously our phone number, if they have questions, we definitely encourage them to call our office. The folks there can answer 99.9% of the questions that come in, so.
I would think the township would write a letter to all the residents of the township that have homes in the township that this is gonna take place when it gets closer to that time, just so you understand what's going on. And now, granted, we're gonna spend a few dollars on stamps and stuff to send to all the people, but we could write a letter, have it printed off, and then mail it, so they understand something's coming down the pike.
Yeah,
Yeah, if I may, that's a great idea. The more public education we can do up front, and we can help. We have canned letters that we've used for other communities, brochures, website information, anything we can do to get the word
So the
out.
company would help in that regard.
Yes, anything we can do to educate the public, it helps us and you tremendously.
Okay.
what about getting onto people's property? I mean, how do we have to have permission, or we can do that through our ordinance with the water lines covers that?
Yeah, and we will send a letter letting them know when we will be out, so hopefully
Well,
it doesn't catch them by
solve the problem. If they're
surprise.
sending a letter, why are we?
And I get a schedule too. They let me know a month ahead of time before they go out, so I can spend some time on the phone contacting the people they'll visit that month and let them know with a personal call.
And I would tell them to keep the letters in a safe place, in case they decide to sell a house later on, they can show a prospective buyer that this has been done.
That was inspected, yeah.
I don't know if I missed the question and answer, but I know you're not going to do the actual inspection or testing. You're going to do the inspection to see if they have the instrument. But as
Yes,
far
sir.
as actually testing whether or not it works, what's the approximate cost to do the testing? What do people experience generally to have their system tested?
I hate when this question comes up.
I know, I mean,
It's plumbing contractors mostly. It's all over the board.
Okay.
I can get one done for as cheap as $50. I've seen it as much as 120.
okay, that's-
So we always suggest, call at least 3 people off the list. We have been trying, in years past, you had to be a licensed plumber to do the testing, so it was expensive. The state's opened it up to let other people do the testing now.
But that's what you were talking about before with 3, would you say 3 days of,
A week,
a week's
40 hours of training, I believe, right?
40
Yes,
hours
it's
of
40-hour
training
class.
to be certified? And that's, the state accepts that?
Yes,
You don't have to be a licensed plumber necessarily?
not to test. They still require a licensed plumber to do the repairs if it fails test, which I wish they would change that rule too, but
We go through all this, do we have a time frame that say you find one that doesn't have a backflow for that, how much time do we give that person to get that in place?
again, we'll have to write that into your plan, so there'll be more discussion when we start writing that plan.
Because I
but
mean, 30 days,
typically-
60 days, 90 days?
Typically, it's 30 days.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it's more time than that because the way our notices flow, usually there's a 30-day letter that says, please do this within 30 days. And if we haven't heard from that homeowner, we would send them another letter that gives them another 30 days. So it's typically more like 60 days total. And then anybody who doesn't want to comply, that one thing that we cannot do is any kind of enforcement. And we turn all that over to Dwayne.
Well, we'll have to do that through our
Sure.
ordinances.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
get notice every time they send a notice, so I am usually quick on the phone to contact the property owner and just see if it was done and maybe wasn't communicated or reported properly, if it wasn't done, when they expect to do it, and then I get a hold of HydroCorp and let them know, what the status of that.
And then they update the records.
sure.
It's usually pretty painless, some people just need a little help walking through the process.
Well, I guess my point is, I don't want to spend this much money and then to go through and say, you, and you got to fix it, and then they just say, well, okay, and never do it. I mean,
I know a lot of
14
people,
years
I know
they've
several
not had a-
people that when they were told they had to, who put sprinkling systems in, and were told they had to put one of these backflow things on, they argued with the person left and right and said they weren't gonna put it on, so they run into stuff like that too.
well, that's why I say they're going to run into that,
Sure.
especially in the,
Now,
but you're going to find
I'm trying to
here
remember, your
that you,
meters are outside
you doing,
sets? No, they're inside sets? Okay, I thought they were.
we have a lot of
outside for
people that
some reason.
irrigate out of the river, so
Sure.
we don't. And that'll, we'll
And that-
catch up to that when we do the home inspections.
Yes.
For the people that don't have the sprinkler
Yep.
meters. Okay, what's your pleasure here? Is anybody else? Debbie, you got any questions on this? No?
You had the recommendation.
What's that?
You had the recommendation for the action. So.
All right, anybody else have any more questions? If not, thank you, Paul.
All right, thank you.
Hope we weren't too hard on you.
I'll make a motion that to approve the township supervisor to enter into a 12-month agreement with HydroCorp in the amount of $12,900 to perform required residential cross-connection inspections as indicated in their proposal dated November 29th, 2018.
I'll support.
Okay.
Okay.
We have-
Okay, we have a motion and we have a support to allow the township supervisor to enter into the agreement. Is there any further discussion? Everybody understands it? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Boda,
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock,
Yes.
Mrs. Babel,
Yes.
and Freehand votes yes.
Okay, motion passes. All right, moving on to announcements. We had a meeting, what was it, last week with the asset management. I think that's what Mr. Light's here for today. We gave a lot of material to the board members that weren't on the committee, and we've been we're letting the board members try to digest it a little bit, and we're gonna probably be bringing up the water rates either the first or second meeting in March. If you would like, we'll let you know when we're gonna do it.
Yes, please.
So you could come back. Mr. Light was on the committee. I think he feels pretty strongly about it, as were a couple of the members on this board. So we want to digest that. We have a couple of questions that we want. And if so, we're not going to put this into effect until October. According to what our billing people say, that is the best time to get into the cycle. So we still have a little bit of time, but it's going to be a big hurdle. I think we want to get it done, and it's not going to be a pleasant thing. I'm just telling the residents that,
Be prepared.
we've got a lot, and this board does not want to raise the water rates, but we're forced to raise the water rate in order to stay in compliance and to keep the water department solvent. It shouldn't be something that's subsidized by the general fund. The only other announcements are, well, you guys got them here in the back of your packet on the FYIs. We do have next Tuesday, we have the road commission is putting on for our board members their program about what the county road commission can do for us in the township. So that's something that's coming. The MTA regional meeting is Thursday night at Alexander's. So far, I haven't got anybody that's going other than me. With that, I guess that's all the announcements I have. Move on to member comments. Mr. Boda?
I have none this evening, thank you.
None? Bob, you have anything to?
I don't have anything.
Nothing, thank you.
Debbie?
I just had something, the phone system that you brought up last time for member comments. Did you check into that?
We're trying to.
Okay.
We're just, our township manager's not here tonight, but she's been extremely busy working day and night. I mean, she's going to a lot of meetings at night. Yeah, we're getting a handle on this Edison. I was gonna bring that up under my comments. The Edison project has taken an awful lot of everybody's time. We have hired a new building official. He's actually just started Friday. He hit the ground running, and a lot to do, and we're trying to, get the building department back in shape. With the Edison, they want to move forward. As you know, we raised our permits a month or so ago, and we have a lot more to do as far as looking into our water and sewer taps, what we charge for that, burials. I think I said all this at the last meeting, but these are what we got to do. But yeah, we are looking into the phone. We're looking into the alarms. The alarm system here in the building, I had the file out today. It was put on by Sentinel back in 1988. They put this alarm system in. Sentinel was bought out by Guardian Alarm. They inherited this system we have here. They really don't know a lot about it. They're suggesting that we update the alarm system, and that's where the phones would come in too.
Okay.
Yeah, we have, because like Mr. Boda brought it up, the phone system is, sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. And I think you're gonna see from our township manager that these computers are starting to crash now too. We had the one at the main counter out here, it crashed, we bought another one. Now we're having problems with other ones already, so, it's like everything else, they probably all bought at the same time, so they're all gonna start going at the same time. But she's trying to set up some kind of program where we can buy them periodically, try and take the worst one and then get through, rather than make an expenditure to put all new computers, then they're all the same age again. So if we can buy one every 6 months or something like that. So she'll be presenting that to us, along with all this building, along with the phones, and along with the alarm system. The alarm system is a mess, I'm telling you.
I mean, there's just
So
nothing
we're
more
trying to clean that up.
aggravating than somebody trying to call in for something and the phone doesn't work.
Yeah, have you
You know,
experienced it too?
Yes.
Yeah, I have myself too, yeah.
Yeah, so,
But, yeah, we're working on that. It's
Okay.
just, it's gonna be a big number to redo all these phones. So that's something that we're, and that's what I wanted to comment on, the Edison, the phones, the alarms. Those are things that we're working on, along with the permits. They say the building department is coming along real nicely now. It's a lot with this Edison plant, with all the prints and stuff that's coming in. And, you know, we're more acclimated to paper prints. The world today is emails and electronic permits or prints. And then you either have a machine that can blow them up off your iPad or your iPhone. And then you look at them that way. Our new building inspector official is really up to speed on that. I mean, where he comes from, that's the world they live in. We pay for this BS&A program, and that's what we're trying to acclimate it all to. You know, if they take pictures of something, you can add that right into the BS&A, and we'll have more permanent records. We'll know what things were done with pictures attached to an address. So it's going to be a lot better for the future to have that data, which right now we don't have a lot of that data. I did see that the river is up the last day or so.
It's down about 4 or 5 inches right now from where it was, the sill up.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're not over the hump with this river yet. I think I reported to you last time that we met with the Army Corps of Engineers, and they said that it looks like, I believe they said Lake St. Clair is gonna be up 2 to 3 inches higher than it was last year, so.
All the
That's-
lakes are supposed to be up.
All the lakes will be up, but Lake St. Clair seems to affect us with Lake Huron feeding it. So, anything the township can do, you know, we have sandbags, we don't always have sand that's not frozen. But if you want sandbags, we have the sandbags, you guys, the residents will have to fill them. Right now, we're just dealing mostly with the St. Clair River, but as everybody knows, in the spring, probably late March, early April, when Bell River decides to move out, that could be a problem then too, but I think we're getting used to it. We don't want to be used to it because it really does a lot of destruction. But we're here for the residents. Feel free to call the township hall here if you can get through on the phones. But, you know, if you see something going on, especially in the river or the Bell River, we do have avenues to get the Coast Guard to get to the icebreakers, and it's usually that's our main tool is the icebreaker to break up the jam. And as everybody, I don't know if everybody knows, but Mr. Jeff Freeland is retired, I believe, as of the 15th of the month. And we have a new emergency manager director. I haven't met the person. I read the report in the email or something that I got, that this guy comes from the Coast Guard. He has a lot of Coast Guard history, so that may help us with that portion of emergency management with getting icebreakers and stuff like that. I talked to a person today that took a ride on the icebreaker down from Port Huron down to Lake St. Clair, and they said there's a lot of ice out there yet, so.
I was up in a lake over the weekend, I didn't see any ice out
No,
there
down
at all.
in this lake, Lake
Yeah,
St.
but
Clair.
Lake Huron didn't have any ice at all, except shore ice.
So with that, I have no more comments. I probably rattled on too long. So I guess a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 8:09 by township clock.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second to adjourn at 8:09. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thanks for coming, Paul.
Thank you.